I pulled up the official emergency preparedness checklist one afternoon, read through the whole thing, and realized I owned almost none of it. Not a little, almost none. And I'm a homeowner. I have a family. I'm supposed to have my life together. But when it came to being ready for an actual emergency, I was completely exposed. Here's what nobody talks about until it's too late. Every single time a major storm, earthquake, or supply disruption hits, the same scene plays out in every city across the country. People flooding grocery stores, not for luxury items, but for the absolute basics: water, bread, canned food. And within hours, those shelves are completely bare. The people who prepared in advance, they're at home, calm, watching the news. The people who waited, they're standing in empty aisles, panicking. So today I'm going to walk you through the items that emergency preparedness experts consistently recommend having ready before any kind of crisis hits. Some of these are things you've heard of, some will catch you off guard, and a few are things most people genuinely never think about until they desperately need them. And here's something important to understand before we get into the list. You don't need a natural disaster for this to matter. A cyber attack on infrastructure, a major trucking disruption, a health crisis, a financial collapse, any of these events can strip store shelves in hours. Preparedness isn't about waiting for the worst-case scenario. It's about being ready for whatever disrupts normal supply and services. Let's get into it. 1. Water purification tablets. Most people hear emergency water supply and immediately picture cases of bottled water stacked in the garage. That's not wrong, but it's also not a complete plan. Bottled water is heavy, takes up enormous amounts of space, and runs out faster than you'd expect. What's a smarter approach? A compact bottle of water purification tablets. Something the size of a small prescription bottle that can make dozens of gallons of questionable water completely safe to consume. We're talking about 50 tablets purifying 25 gallons. That is exponentially more coverage than you'd get hauling cases of water. Here's what emergency response teams report after every major disaster. More people become seriously ill from contaminated water sources than from the disaster event itself. Waterborne illness is a quiet killer that arrives after the chaos settles, after the storm, after the shaking stops, after the flooding pulls back, and people are left surrounded by water they cannot safely drink. These tablets work through iodine or chlorine dioxide chemistry to neutralize bacteria, viruses, and parasites. You drop them into collected water, wait roughly 30 minutes, and what was undrinkable becomes safe. No fire required, no equipment, no electricity. They also store for 5 or more years without losing effectiveness. That is a one-time purchase sitting quietly in your cabinet, protecting your family indefinitely. And here's the strategic advantage that matters most. When a crisis is announced, bottled water disappears from stores within a day. Every time. But if you have purification tablets, you have access to any water source around you. Ponds, rain barrels, rivers. The ability to create safe water rather than chase it is the difference between being helpless and being genuinely prepared. 2. Powdered milk. Fresh dairy is one of the first things to vanish during any disruption to normal supply chains. It requires constant refrigeration, depends on daily delivery routes, and spoils within days once power goes out. When the grid fails, every gallon of fresh milk in every home and store in your area is gone within 48 hours. Powdered milk solves all of that at once. Properly sealed and stored, it remains usable for up to 2 decades. You buy it, store it, and forget about it until the day you actually need it. 1 pound reconstitutes into approximately 1 gallon of milk. Just add water. For families with children, this is not optional. Kids need calcium, protein, and vitamin D. Beyond pure nutrition, they need familiarity. A glass of milk with breakfast is normal, and normalcy matters enormously when children are frightened and everything around them feels unstable. But powdered milk is not just for drinking. It functions in any recipe that calls for regular milk. Pancakes, soups, oatmeal, sauces. When your food options narrow significantly, that kind of versatility becomes genuinely valuable. Stock at minimum 5 pounds per person in your household. That gives you months of nutritional coverage from something that weighs almost nothing and takes up barely any shelf space. 3. A manual can opener. This one is almost embarrassingly simple, and yet it is one of the most consistently overlooked items in emergency preparedness. Think about this. You've carefully stocked your pantry with canned goods. Beans, vegetables, soup, fish, chicken, fruit. You feel good about your food supply. Then the power goes out, your electric can opener is useless, and you're staring at a shelf full of sealed metal cylinders you cannot open. Emergency relief workers will tell you this happens more often than anyone wants to admit. Families sitting on full pantries with no way to access them. People attempting to pry cans open with kitchen knives, injuring themselves, spilling food everywhere, creating contamination risks on top of an already stressful situation. A military-grade P-38 or P-51 style can opener costs almost nothing. It fits on a keychain. It never needs batteries or charging. And it works every single time with zero mechanical complexity to fail. Buy several. Keep one in your kitchen, one in your emergency bag, one in your vehicle. Give extras to people you care about. This is the lowest cost, highest return purchase on this entire list. 4. Rice. There is a reason rice has been the foundation of human diets across multiple continents for thousands of years. It is inexpensive. It stores almost indefinitely. It is packed with calories. And virtually anyone can prepare it. A 20-pound bag contains roughly 30,000 calories. That covers 2 weeks of food for one adult or several days for a family. White rice, sealed correctly, remains edible for 30 years. That is not an exaggeration. Buy it today and it could outlast your car, your appliances, and several home renovations. Preparation is straightforward. Boil water, add rice, wait. That is the entire process. No specialized skills. No complex equipment, just a pot and a heat source. And in extreme situations where fuel is limited, rice can be cold soaked in water for several hours and consumed that way. Not ideal, but functional. One additional detail the preparedness community has documented for years. The starchy liquid left after boiling rice functions as a basic oral rehydration solution. If someone in your household is dealing with dehydration or digestive illness during a crisis, rice water provides meaningful stabilization when medical care is unavailable. Important note on rice selection. Choose white rice, not brown. Brown rice contains oils in the bran layer that cause it to go rancid within 6 months. White rice does not have this limitation. For long-term storage purposes, longevity outweighs daily nutritional preference. Target at least 50 pounds per person in your household. 5. Batteries. When the power grid goes down, batteries become one of the most critical resources you own. Darkness during a disaster is not simply inconvenient. It is genuinely dangerous. Trips and falls, inability to assess your surroundings, difficulty managing basic tasks, panic in family members who cannot see what is happening around them. Lithium batteries retain their charge for 10 to 15 years in storage. Standard alkaline batteries last 5 to 7 years. If you are building a stockpile for emergencies that may be years away, lithium batteries are the logical investment even at a higher upfront cost. But lighting is only part of why batteries matter. Emergency radios depend on them. Flashlights require them. Medical devices like glucose monitors, hearing aids, and certain respiratory equipment run on specific battery types. Running out of the wrong battery size during a prolonged outage can transform a manageable health condition into a life-threatening emergency. Smart approach. Walk through your home and identify every battery-powered device. Write down the battery type each one requires. Then, stock approximately 3 times what you think you will need. Redundancy is not excessive caution here, it is basic math. And during extended power outages, batteries reliably become a barter commodity. People will trade meaningful resources for them. Stockpile beyond your own needs, and you gain real leverage. 6. A comprehensive first aid kit, not the small plastic box with a handful of bandages and an expired aspirin packet sitting in the back of your bathroom cabinet. That is not an emergency medical kit. That is a minor inconvenience kit. A real emergency first aid kit functions as a portable, scaled-down medical station capable of handling everything from basic wound care to serious trauma management. During disasters, minor injuries escalate quickly. A small cut that would normally be washed and covered can become a dangerous infection within days when access to clean water is limited, antibiotics are unavailable, and emergency medical care is overwhelmed or inaccessible. Prescription medications deserve separate consideration. Most pharmacies will only dispense 30-day supplies under normal circumstances, but many physicians will write prescriptions for a 90-day emergency reserve when asked directly. If anyone in your household depends on daily medication, whether for blood pressure, diabetes, mental health, or anything else, that buffer is not optional. Over-the-counter medications matter enormously. Antidiarrheal medication prevents the dehydration that kills people during crises. Pain relievers and fever reducers provide management options when professional care is not reachable. Antibiotic ointment keeps wounds from progressing to dangerous infections. Antihistamines address allergic reactions that could otherwise become medical emergencies. Include a physical, waterproof first aid manual. When internet access is gone and you need to know how to treat a burn or recognize signs of shock, that book becomes one of your most valuable possessions. Add trauma shears, sterile gauze, surgical tape, a tourniquet, and a thermometer. These items feel like overkill right up until they are not. 7. Peanut butter. If forced to identify a single food with the best combination of caloric density, nutritional value, shelf stability, and zero preparation requirements, peanut butter would be near the top of every serious discussion. A single standard jar contains over 6,000 calories. That is 3 full days of energy for an adult in one container that requires no cooking, no refrigeration, no water, and no preparation whatsoever. Open it and eat. That is the entire process. 2 tablespoons deliver 7 grams of protein. The fat content supports hormonal function and improves your body's ability to absorb vitamins from other foods you're consuming. B vitamins in peanut butter help maintain nervous system function during periods of extreme stress. And nutritional density aside, there is a psychological dimension that people consistently underestimate. Peanut butter tastes good. It is familiar. When everything around your family is falling apart, when the power has been out for 3 days and fear is running high, something familiar and comforting has real value. It makes survival eating tolerable. It creates a small piece of normalcy when nothing else is normal. Shelf life is exceptional. Sealed jars remain safe well past printed dates. Even after opening, peanut butter stays stable for months without refrigeration. Store several jars in different locations throughout your home and in your vehicle. Multiple caches mean losing access to one does not wipe out your supply. 8. Dried beans and legumes. Beans are among the oldest, most tested survival foods in human history. Civilizations facing famine, armed conflict, plague, and prolonged hardship have relied on them consistently across centuries, and with good reason. A single pound of dried beans expands into 6 cups of cooked food. Combined with the rice already in your stockpile, you have a complete protein source for an extremely low cost and minimal storage space. The nutritional profile is almost designed for crisis situations. High fiber supports digestive health when your diet shifts dramatically. Iron prevents anemia. Folate supports immune function. Slow-releasing carbohydrates provide lasting energy without the spikes and crashes that come from processed or sugary foods. And storage life is extraordinary. Dried beans kept in cool, dry conditions last for decades, not years. Decades. Unlike canned goods with firm expiration timelines, dried beans are remarkably forgiving as they age. Stock variety. Black beans, pinto beans, chickpeas, lentils, split peas. Different beans bring different flavors, textures, and cooking times. Lentils and split peas cook quickly, which conserves fuel during extended outages. Larger beans can be sprouted to produce fresh vegetables when produce has completely disappeared. Ground into flour, they create protein-rich baked goods when wheat becomes unavailable. 9. Flashlights and candles. Being in complete darkness during a disaster triggers something primal in most people. It is not simply about inconvenience or navigation. Total darkness causes anxiety to spike sharply. Every sound becomes amplified and threatening. Productivity collapses. Your ability to care for your family and manage your environment degrades rapidly. Modern LED flashlights have transformed the lighting landscape. Compact models now run for hundreds of hours on a single set of batteries while producing light output that would have seemed impossible a generation ago. But building your entire lighting strategy around battery-powered devices is a mistake. Batteries drain. Flashlights malfunction. You need multiple layers of backup. That is where candles become essential. They carry no charge and need no power source. Properly selected emergency candles can burn for over 100 hours. That represents weeks of illumination from an object that costs a few dollars. Think across different use scenarios when selecting your lighting supplies. Headlamps free your hands for actual tasks. Lanterns illuminate entire rooms and allow your family to function together in some semblance of normalcy. Glow sticks remain safe around flammable materials. Tactical flashlights with strobe functions serve dual purpose for security situations. For candles, beeswax and soy options burn more cleanly and longer than paraffin alternatives, which matters when you're burning them indoors with limited airflow. Jar-mounted candles eliminate tip over fire risks. Tea lights let you portion your fuel carefully across extended periods. 10. Nuts and seeds. Nuts are one of the most nutritionally dense, storage-stable, preparation-free foods available. No water needed, no cooking, no fuel, no equipment. Grab a handful, and that is a meaningful contribution to your caloric and nutritional needs for that moment. The micronutrient profile is what makes nuts genuinely critical during extended emergencies. Almonds deliver protein comparable to eggs per ounce. Walnuts provide omega-3 fatty acids that support brain function under stress. Cashews contain zinc for wound healing. Brazil nuts pack selenium for immune system support. Pumpkin seeds provide magnesium that helps prevent muscle cramps during physical exertion. When a disaster compresses your diet down to stored staples, micronutrient deficiencies begin developing within days to weeks. Historically, these deficiencies have caused significant mortality during prolonged crises, even when calories were available. Nuts fill those gaps in a way that almost no other shelf-stable food can match at the same calorie-to-weight ratio. That calorie-to-weight efficiency also makes nuts ideal for evacuation scenarios. When you are loading a bag quickly and mobility matters, nuts deliver maximum energy in minimum space and weight. Mixed with dried fruit, they create an effective, fast-access energy source during physically demanding situations. 11. Unscented bleach. Most people keep bleach under the sink for basic household cleaning and give it no further thought. In an emergency context, it transforms into one of the most powerful and versatile survival tools available. A single gallon can purify thousands of gallons of collected water using a straightforward formula. 8 drops of plain unscented bleach per gallon of clear water. 16 drops if the water appears cloudy or turbid. Wait 30 minutes. That water is now safe to drink. That is the entire protocol, and it functions without any specialized equipment or training. Beyond water purification, bleach is your primary defense against disease when normal sanitation infrastructure breaks down. 1 tablespoon per gallon of water creates a surface disinfecting solution effective against viruses, bacteria, and fungi. Door handles, food preparation areas, bathroom fixtures, high-contact surfaces throughout your home. All sanitized with something you already stock. Standard liquid bleach loses effectiveness over approximately 1 year. For long-term preparedness, consider calcium hypochlorite, sold commercially as pool shock. This powder stores indefinitely, and a single pound can generate enormous quantities of bleach solution. That is your long-duration water purification solution addressed for a fraction of the cost of most preparedness purchases. 12. Cooking oil. A liter of cooking oil contains more than 8,000 calories. That is over 3 days of survival-level energy in a single container. When the body begins depleting fat reserves during extended food stress, dietary fat becomes critical to maintaining hormonal function and allowing proper absorption of fat-soluble vitamins from other foods in your supply. But oil's value extends well beyond raw calories. It makes cooking over improvised heat sources practical. Food sticks and burns without it. Oil enables pan frying, flatbread production with basic flour, and preservation of herbs and vegetables. And here is something most people have never considered. Cooking oil can function as lamp fuel. A shallow dish of oil with a cloth wick produces usable light for hours when every other fuel source has run out. Different oils bring different strengths to your stockpile. Coconut oil remains solid at room temperature and resists rancidity for years. Olive oil adds flavor variety that combats food monotony during extended emergencies. Basic vegetable oil maximizes caloric return per dollar spent. Keep all varieties sealed in dark containers stored somewhere cool. Once opened, transfer oil to smaller containers to minimize ongoing air exposure and slow rancidity. 13. Multivitamins and supplements. When your daily diet compresses down to rice, beans, and whatever shelf-stable goods you have available, nutritional deficiencies develop faster than most people realize. Vitamin C deficiency produces scurvy symptoms within weeks. Insufficient vitamin D suppresses immune function and affects mood significantly. B vitamin shortfalls create cognitive fog and physical weakness. These are not distant theoretical concerns. They are documented outcomes of restricted diets during actual emergencies. A basic daily multivitamin addresses that baseline gap inexpensively. 1 tablet a day maintains your nutritional foundation regardless of how limited your food variety becomes during a crisis. Beyond a standard multi, Consider situation-specific supplements. Vitamin D becomes especially important during extended indoor shelter periods with limited sunlight exposure. Probiotics help maintain gut microbiome health when your diet changes abruptly. Electrolyte packets prevent dangerous imbalances if you are sweating heavily from physical labor or recovering from illness. Quality matters in this category. Budget vitamins often use poorly bioavailable forms of key nutrients that your body cannot absorb effectively, making them essentially useless. Look for brands with third-party testing and bioavailable nutrient forms. The price difference between quality and discount vitamins is minor compared to the stakes involved. Store in original bottles with silica packets to control moisture. Keep fresh sealed reserves separate from your daily supply. 14. Duct tape and heavy plastic sheeting. Few combinations of basic materials offer as many emergency applications as these two. A broken window during a storm, duct tape and plastic sheeting. Building a quick rain shelter? Same answer. Sealing a room against airborne contamination or smoke? Identical solution. Plastic sheeting creates vapor barriers that slow heat loss and prevent hypothermia in cold conditions. It covers damaged roof areas to stop water intrusion after storm damage. During health emergencies requiring household isolation, it helps seal off individual rooms to reduce transmission risk between family members. The medical applications surprise most people. Duct tape secures splints and bandages when proper medical tape runs out. Plastic sheeting serves as emergency covering for burns and large wounds. In mass casualty situations where proper medical supplies are exhausted, these improvised materials become legitimately life-saving tools. Purchase military-grade duct tape rated for temperature extremes. Avoid budget alternatives that lose adhesion under pressure. Get 6 mil plastic sheeting thick enough to resist tearing under real conditions but still manageable for a single person to work with. Stock both clear and opaque varieties. Clear lets light penetrate your shelter space. Black or dark sheeting blocks light for sleep and provides privacy when needed. 15. Personal hygiene supplies. The statistics on this are consistently ignored and consistently important. More disaster victims have died historically from sanitation-related illness than from the disaster events themselves. Cholera, dysentery, hepatitis, these diseases proliferate rapidly when hygiene infrastructure collapses and they spread through populations faster than the original crisis that created the conditions. Plain bar soap is the single highest impact item in this category. Not antibacterial formulas, not specialty products, simple soap used with water before eating and after bathroom use. Proper hand hygiene eliminates the majority of fecal-oral disease transmission routes. Bar soap stores indefinitely, costs almost nothing, and functions without running water. Feminine hygiene products do not become optional during emergencies. Menstrual cups are reusable for years with proper care. Washable cloth alternatives provide sustainable options. These items need to be in your stockpile because they cannot be improvised effectively, and the absence of them creates genuine hardship. Toilet paper depletes rapidly in any extended emergency. Think through alternatives before need forces the decision. Bidet attachments function when water pressure remains. Washable fabric alternatives create sustainable systems. Understanding your options in advance prevents desperate improvisation that creates sanitation risks. 16. A portable radio. When electrical power fails, when internet connectivity drops, and when cell towers are overloaded or offline, a battery-powered radio becomes your only reliable connection to accurate information about what is happening beyond your immediate location. Emergency broadcasts carry evacuation orders, water distribution points, unsafe zone designations, and estimated timelines for help and restoration. Without access to this information, every decision you make is based on incomplete data and neighborhood rumor rather than verified emergency management guidance. NOAA Weather Radio operates on dedicated frequencies specifically designed to remain functional when commercial broadcast infrastructure goes dark. A radio with NOAA capability gives you direct access to official emergency information rather than speculation. Two-way radios add meaningful additional capability. Basic family radio service models allow communication across a neighborhood when cell phones stop working. Licensed ham radio equipment extends that range to regional or even global reach in serious scenarios. When phones are useless, coordinating with family members or signaling for help changes your situation entirely. Own both battery-dependent and self-powered options. Battery-operated radios produce the best reception quality. Hand crank or solar charging models provide backup when batteries run out. These two types working in combination ensure you always have access to information regardless of how long the disruption lasts. 17. Cash in small denominations. When the power grid fails, every electronic payment system stops functioning simultaneously. ATMs go dark. Credit and debit card terminals stop working. Mobile payment applications become inaccessible. Physical currency is the only medium of exchange that functions, and the people holding it gain access to what they need while everyone else is effectively locked out of any transaction. Small bills are critical because making change during a crisis is rarely possible. Carrying only large bills means you either overpay dramatically for basic necessities or walk away without them. Ones and fives let you transact close to actual value and protect against price exploitation. Distribute your cash across multiple locations. Emergency kit. Hidden secure spot in your home. Your vehicle. Vacuum seal portions to protect against water damage. Never concentrate your entire cash reserve in one place. A single theft, flood event, or fire can eliminate your entire financial buffer if it is all stored together. Target at least 1 month of essential household expenses held in physical cash. That covers immediate needs while systems are restored or alternatives are arranged. Include a selection of coins as well. Vending machines and payphones operating on backup power may be accessible when nothing else is. 18. Sturdy waterproof footwear. This item appears on almost no emergency preparedness lists. That is a serious and consistent oversight. After any major disaster, the ground in and around affected areas becomes genuinely hazardous. Broken glass, exposed nails, splintered structural materials, downed electrical lines, standing water contaminated with fuel, sewage, and chemicals. Standard sneakers, sandals, and casual footwear provide essentially no protection against these hazards. You need solid, closed-toe boots with waterproofing, ankle support, and puncture-resistant soles within easy reach at all times. Keep them near your bed or your emergency kit so you can put them on immediately in the dark without searching. Foot injuries during disaster situations are among the most common and most debilitating outcomes people face. A puncture wound gets infected quickly when clean medical care is inaccessible. An infected foot prevents movement. Inability to walk prevents evacuation, prevents you from performing necessary physical tasks, and creates dependency on others at exactly the moment when everyone around you also has problems. Buy a dedicated pair of boots specifically for emergency use if your daily footwear is not adequate. Break them in over time before any crisis occurs. Keep thick wool or synthetic socks with them. Your feet are your primary transportation when vehicle access is blocked by debris and roads are impassable. Protect them accordingly. 19. A fire extinguisher. Fire risk increases substantially during and after disasters. Gas line ruptures, downed electrical lines, people cooking over indoor open flames, knocked over candles providing the only available light. All of these create ignition risks at exactly the point when fire departments are responding to multiple simultaneous calls, and average response times stretch from minutes into hours. A standard ABC-rated extinguisher handles wood, paper, liquid fuel, and electrical fire types, covering the vast majority of household fire scenarios. Cost is minimal. Keep one in the kitchen, one near any supplemental heating source, and one in your emergency supply area. Understand how to use it before you ever need it. An active fire is not the moment to read operating instructions for the first time. Check the pressure gauge periodically and replace or service units as needed. This is one of those items that sits unused indefinitely until the single moment it prevents a manageable flame from becoming a structure fire that destroys your entire emergency preparation along with everything else you own. 20. A signaling whistle. Simple, inexpensive, consistently overlooked. If you are ever trapped under structural debris or in a location where you cannot be seen, your voice gives out within minutes of sustained yelling. The human throat is not built for extended emergency signaling. A standard emergency whistle carries sound significantly farther than the human voice and requires a fraction of the physical effort to operate. You can sustain whistle signaling for hours in a situation where vocal calls would fail within 15 minutes. Search and rescue teams are explicitly trained to locate whistle signals. They blend into background noise far less than shouting. Attach one to every family member's emergency bag. Put one in your vehicle. Clip one to the exterior of your emergency kit where it can be found quickly. They weigh almost nothing and cost almost nothing, which means there is genuinely no argument against having them. 21. Critical documents in a waterproof container. Identification documents. Insurance policies. Medical records. Property documentation. Bank account information. Prescription records. All of it belongs in a single, waterproof, grab-and-go container. When a home is lost to flood, fire, or storm damage, these documents determine how quickly life can be reconstructed. With them, interactions with insurance companies, federal assistance programs, banks, and medical providers move relatively quickly. Without them, every single interaction becomes exponentially more complicated and time-consuming, adding months to an already painful recovery. Create copies. Store originals in the waterproof container. Put digital copies on a waterproof USB drive inside the same container. Give a complete duplicate set to a trusted person who lives outside your immediate area. Bureaucratic processes do not pause for disaster survivors. Having documentation ready is not optional for anyone who wants to rebuild efficiently. 22. Heavy-duty garbage bags. This is the last item on the list and also one of the most underrated. A roll of contractor-grade heavy garbage bags is one of the most versatile emergency supply items available. Emergency rain protection. Waterproof shelter lining. Sanitation and waste containment when sewage systems are non-functional. Rainwater collection. Temporary window sealing. Carrying supplies when bags and containers are damaged or unavailable. Cut open and filled with insulating material like dried leaves, they function as crude but functional sleeping padding. The applications are limited primarily by imagination and need. Do not purchase standard kitchen bags for this purpose. Contractor-grade bags are substantially thicker, larger, and more resistant to tearing under load. A box of 50 takes up minimal storage space and adds a layer of flexibility to your emergency capability that costs almost nothing. And here is the bottom line on this entire list. None of these items are rare. None of them are expensive. Most are available in any grocery store, hardware store, or large retailer right now, today, at completely normal prices. The moment a crisis is announced or hits, that changes. Store shelves clear within hours. Prices spike. Lines form. Panic sets in. The window to prepare is not during the emergency. It is before anything has happened, when everything is calm and available and affordable. If this list highlighted even 2 or 3 things you do not currently have, that is information worth acting on immediately. If you found this useful, take a second to like this video and subscribe to my channel so you do not miss what comes next. Drop a comment below telling me which item on this list you are getting first. I read through them and it genuinely helps to know what people are prioritizing. Now you have the list. The next step is actually doing something with it.